Base training. The theories have been around for ages. Long, steady rides in the off-season, generally the winter months, on which you can develop a base of aerobic fitness on which you can then build your speed and power at a later date. The theory goes that the bigger the base you build, the higher the peak that you can reach, supposedly.
Yes, but is this really the best way for professional full-time cyclists to reach peak physical condition? And perhaps more importantly for most of us, I myself included these days, is this the best approach if your time is restricted? Well, ironically, since we've retired, we've actually had a lot of time to spend reflecting on the training that we did used to do. And in fact, whilst we should have been working in the GCN office, we've been discussing it, and we've been especially talking about base training.
Yeah, we've also called up my former coach, who's the head of sports science at Kent University in the UK, Professor Louis Passfield. Now, he's at the absolute forefront of theories into training, and so he's very well placed to help us with our little question.
But before we go any further, it's probably time to look at the theories behind base training and why it has become a big tradition. Quick trawl through the internet will reveal the justifications and reasoning behind this type of training. Now, apparently doing long rides over a long period of time at a steady pace will trigger some key physical changes within your body. Amongst these are increasing capillaries, small blood vessels in your muscles. It will also increase the number of mitochondria you get, which is energy producing within your cells, and also it will increase your VO2 max. And apparently, if you don't do this, then any hard and fast training will have less benefit for less amount of time.
Yeah, and some coaches actually go further and say that if you do any high intensity training during your base preparation phase, that you undo all the good work that you're trying to do. Now, it's worth saying that if your coach has said this, then you should probably step away, because this has definitively been proven to be an absolute load of rubbish. Part of what got us thinking about this is that winter is not exactly the nicest time to ride your bike. It's ironic that you'd spend more time in the saddle at this time of year, and it's even more ironic that you'd be doing that riding steadily and getting really cold.
Yeah, exactly this in fact. And actually, not only that, it trashes your bike. It's just not generally good for your morale. And to be honest, since Si and I have stopped doing base rides and started doing shorter, slightly harder rides, we found that we're not getting as cold, we don't mind riding in the rain too much, and we're generally just more psyched to get out the door.
Yeah, so we put this concept of base training to Professor Passfield, and he said firstly that actually the idea of having base training as a specific part of your training year is actually really out of date now. Now, he also said that there is no evidence to say that base training has to come before threshold or peak power work, and crucially, for those of us that have got less time to train, we'd actually be better off taking out base training altogether.
Now, there are a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, there's a weight of evidence to suggest that high intensity interval training will do as much to raise your VO2 max as longer aerobic sessions. So for example, Kent University, they did a study of 2 sets of cyclists. One lot had to go out and do 30-second max effort intervals with 3 minutes between until exhaustion, and the others, well, they just rode at 70% of VO2 max, also until exhaustion. And by the end of this training period, they'd both shown signs of improvement. Those improvements were so similar, they couldn't statistically prove which method was best.
Yeah, that's right. So the group that did just 2 hours of riding per week improved at the same rate as those that did 10 to 12 hours of riding per week. And now, we're not suggesting that you should do your training for your next 100 mile sportif exactly like this, but what it should do is give you cause to stop and think about what exactly you are doing and why.
I've stopped and thought, and I think we should go a bit faster.
Right, mate.
Now, we should probably point out right now that we're not advocating or suggesting that every time you go out riding, you should smash yourself doing some high intensity intervals. What you need is a balance, and also what you need is to enjoy riding your bike, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we think the best approach is to have regular achievable goals and then build in progression and variability into your training plan. So work on different aspects of your fitness in little blocks and then have an achievable goal at the end of each one.
Now, not only is this going to be great for your fitness, but our theory also has a number of other benefits. Firstly, you're going to be faster. That's probably the most important thing. You can simply add on endurance once the better weather rolls around. You also won't trash your equipment so much, which will save you money, and you'll stay motivated longer once the better weather rolls around.
Yeah, and even things like riding in the rain doesn't seem as bad because you won't be in it as long and you'll be warmer anyway because you're working harder. And in fact, even if it's not raining, it's just cold, you still stay warmer.
Yeah, you'll be more used to going fast, so once you start racing or doing fast group rides or fast sporties, you'll already be up with them and feeling much more comfortable.
And then the other thing as well is that actually you can probably just spend a bit more time at home with your family or watching GCN.
Now, Professor Passfield did also mention to us that if you are a full-time rider who's got all day, every day of which to train, then if you do base training, it's likely that you will reach a higher physical peak than someone in the same situation who doesn't.
However, it's not clear that the base training is actually the reason for this higher peak. It's much more likely that the greater available time to train gives more opportunity to increase the variability of your training, which is the key to higher performance.
And anyway, as we've already mentioned, most of us don't have all day, every day to train, so why should we emulate the type or even the volume of training that the professionals are doing? So, base training, fact or fiction? Well, after this, we've got to say fiction.
Yeah, if you do have unlimited time to train, then you will still benefit from training at lower intensities. But as we've just mentioned, it's variability that's the key, and that is exactly what conventional base training is not.
So don't waste any time. Get out there, work on different aspects of your cycling year round and rotate it, and also give yourselves goals to aim towards. But most importantly, make sure you give yourselves time to relax as well, because this type of training is particularly mentally demanding.
Yeah, but having said all of this, if you do really enjoy slow, steady, sociable rides, then by all means carry on doing them, because enjoying your cycling is probably the greatest foundation to fitness that you could get.